Every wood shop needs a drill press, and yet most of the drill presses you can buy are metalworking tools. The tables are too small for the types of things that we have to deal with. They tilt the wrong way, side to side instead of front to back. And you can't easily attach fences or guides to them. They're made to mount vices like this, which we need about once every 5 years. In order to convert this to a true woodworking drill press, you'll need to do 3 things. The first thing you need is a bigger table. You can attach this to the drill press table with just a few lag screws. It could be a sheet of plywood. This is a little bit more sophisticated table, as you're going to see. This table is about 24 inches wide and 18 inches deep. That's about 60 by 45 centimeters for those of you in metric land. You can make it bigger or smaller according to your own needs. But when you make it, you're going to have to fit it to your drill press, and there are 2 important things to consider. First of all, you have to make sure that the table does not interfere with the action of the crank that raises and lowers the table. On this particular drill press, we had to raise the table about 1.5 inches in order to make sure that it didn't interfere with the crank. And on some drill presses, you may have to cut out the table slightly to get it to fit around the shaft, as we did here. Not all drill presses, just some. When you install the table, you have to make sure that it is perfectly square to the chuck. Now, to check that, I've put a rod in the chuck. It's easier to see than with a twist bit. And you take a square, and as you can see, it's perfectly 90 degrees from side to side, and 90 degrees front to back. Now, if it isn't, there are some simple adjustments that you have to make. The side-to-side adjustment is easy. You just loosen the bolt that attaches the drill press table to the collar around the shaft. Then just tilt it one way or the other until the square lines up with the rod. The front-to-back adjustment takes a little more trial and error and a little more work. You have to use washers and put those washers between the drill press table and the table you just built, either at the front or the back. Those washers have to be in just the right position, and they have to be just the right thickness. Now that we've got enough real estate underneath the chuck, I have to make sure that that real estate tilts front to back. Now, the traditional way to do this is with quadrants. I could put a quadrant on either side. This is a jig that I've made that has a couple of quadrants. As you can see, they're just triangles with curved slots. Now, the problem with this is that that would take up a lot of space underneath the table. It would reduce how much distance I could put between the table and the chuck. So, I came up with a whole new system. This table tilts on pivoting slides, like this. See that? The slides pivot right here, and then they just fold up underneath the table. You can get any angle you want between 0 and about 60 degrees, and then you just lock it in place, like so. How do you get this table to a precise angle? Well, there are 2 different ways. You can cut a wedge and use it as a feeler gauge. Just lift up the table and feel the angle. You can even leave it in there if you want. There it is at a perfect 25 degrees. Or you can use your smartphone and a clinometer app. I have an app on my phone called Rotating Sphere Clinometer. In order to use it, first of all, I have to get my phone square to the edge of my table, zero it out. There we go. Now I can raise the table until I get it right where I want it. There we go. I'm going for 30 degrees here. And there it is. Now I just clamp it down. Simple as that. And finally, we need a fence or a guide that attaches to the table. Now, almost every other stationary power tool in your shop has a guide that guides the work. So it should be absolutely no surprise that the drill press needs one as well. In fact, your drill press not only needs a fence to guide and position the work, it needs it for safety as well. When drilling small parts, the drill bit sometimes catches the work and sets it spinning, smacking your fingers. A fence will prevent this. This particular fence is as simple as it gets. As you can see, it's just a board that I've planed straight and true, and then drilled a few holes and cut a slot. So, well, it's almost as simple as it gets. It attaches to the table quickly and easily. Just insert the heads of the carriage bolts in the holes in the table, slide it to where you need it, and tighten the knobs to lock it in place. It stores in much the same way. Insert the carriage bolts through the holes from the bottom, slide it forward, and tighten the knobs. That way it's always convenient, but never in the way. On its edge, the fence is 3 inches or 8 centimeters high. This is fine for most operations, but it could get in the way if you're using a short drill bit and drilling the hole close to the fence. So I drilled a second set of mounting holes so you can lay the fence down on its face, cutting its effective height in half. One more thing. Now, I knew I said finally a few minutes ago, but what I'm about to show you really isn't part of the table. It's sort of a bonus jig that will help make your drilling operations completely dustless. Not completely, but almost. This simple little dust collector mounts to the table saw in the same slots as the fence, so it can be positioned to the right or the left to suck up the sawdust as you work. Or you can clamp it to the table and bring it in from the front or the back. Okay, we've got a large tilting table with a fence and a dust collector. So, how does all this stuff work together? Well, let me show you 3 unique setups that would be almost impossible if you were just working with a basic drill press. Here we are set up to drill a line of evenly spaced holes down the middle of this board. Both the fence and the stop are a precise distance from the bit. You'll also notice that I put a piece of plywood up against the fence and underneath the area where I will be drilling. This is important. Not only does this prevent me from drilling into the table that I work so hard to make, it also backs up the wood so that you get a clean exit hole with no chips or splinters. To make the line of holes, start by drilling the first one. Insert a dowel in the hole and push the work sideways along the fence until the dowel butts up against the stop. Drill another hole and repeat. And then just keep repeating. And here it is, set up to drill round stock. The table is tilted at 45 degrees, and the fence is attached to create a V-jig that cradles the stock. Position the fence so that the drill bit is right over the point of the V. That way, when you put the stock in place, the drill bit will go straight through the diameter of the stock at the thickest part and in line with the center, or the axis. This is a setup for making pocket holes. The table is tilted at about 15 degrees, and the fence is positioned so that the drill bit will exit the work in the center of the edge or the end. A pocket hole consists of 2 holes, the pocket itself and a shank hole for the screw. Clamp the wood to the fence so that it doesn't shift. Then make a pocket with a large diameter bit, just a little bit larger than the screw head itself. Be careful not to drill all the way through the work. Switch to a smaller diameter bit, one about the same size as the screw shank, and drill the shank hole all the way through to the edge or the end. Or, if you have a 2-step drill, you can drill the pocket and the shank hole all in one operation. You get the idea. A drill press table not only adds ease and precision to your drilling operations, It extends your capabilities, gives you choices. And this is what makes a metalworking machine into a true woodworking tool, right? Here you go.